West Ham seem old to me. I don't just mean the players. I mean the way of thinking. I think we're backward thinking. I think the owners are backward thinking in the way that they've approached their managerial candidates, the way they've approached the transfer window. I think in the way that they've approached the David Moyes conundrum, if you like. I certainly think the manager is backwards thinking. It's almost like they're the old guards, the old breed of owners, and they've also got the old breed of manager. I guess that makes sense, right? If you look at everything else that's going on in the Premier League, there's a freshness to it. The promoted teams have ambition. They seem young. And I guess it will boil down to success or failure this season as to whether or not this sort of young breed of ownership and managers have cottoned on or found out something that the old ones don't know. Maybe there's a new way of doing things. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't know much, and actually the experience of David Moyes is going to be enough to get us out of where we are. I am worried, though. I am worried because of the way we conducted the transfer window and the way it's been allowed to sort of peter out, really. I was looking at Mikel Arteta the other day. Mikel Arteta is no surprise he turned into a good manager. If you're a long-time watcher of Hammer's Chat, we called it when he was an assistant manager at Man City. I actually said I wanted him to be our next manager a long time ago. That was before I saw how he acted on the touchline. But Arsenal went and appointed him. The biggest thing I could say about that is that it's not something the West Ham board would never do. The West Ham board don't see potential. They don't. If Moyes was going to go, it was going to be Benitez coming in or Dyche coming in. That's very much the way they do things. That's the way they've always done things. It's Sam Allardyce, it's Steve Bruce, it's Trevor Francis. That's the type of thing they do. They would never have seen, maybe Silva that went to Fulham. They wouldn't have even thought to do that. And then I look at the way we've just hemorrhaged and we've purged our academy and any young players. Because the attitude that our owners have towards managers is the same attitude that our manager has towards players. He would prefer... He'd prefer a journeyman. He'd prefer an established Premier League journeyman to giving a youngster a chance. And I was very, very disappointed to hear his comments about Harrison Ashby. But as any of our patron addicts will tell you, because I said it in the WhatsApp group, I said, be careful, this is what David Moyes was about to go and say tomorrow. And he went and said it, which was basically we tried to get Harrison Ashby to sign a new contract. He wouldn't sign a new contract, so we had to let him go. And I said, this is what he'll say. And what it does is it takes us all for fools. Because what it doesn't ever factor in is the fact that Harrison Ashby was never really given the incentive to play first-team football. Harrison Ashby was never really given a chance. It's all very well David Moyes saying, well, sign a new contract. It's not just about that. He's proven it. He's said it. Sonny Perkins has said it. There's a number of them have said it now, which is, okay, yeah, well, contracts are all well and good, but what about a pathway into the first team? He'd rather not do that. And that's half the reason that Harrison Ashby left. If Harrison Ashby had got to now, this point in his career, into his early 20s, and he'd played 40 times for West Ham, a combination of substitute appearances, first team appearances, Cup, League, whatever, then it wouldn't have been a problem at all. I think he would have signed his new contract. He would have seen that he could progress at West Ham. There was no progression at West Ham. So I do think the attitude is the same. I looked last week at someone like Leeds. They're young. He sort of plays off the left wing. He's a forward, though, isn't he, really? Notto. There's no way West Ham would have signed him. Just no way. It's just not our way of doing things. And this is, and more's the pity. So we don't actually highlight the really good up-and-coming, the sort of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds and get them into the team. Other teams do. We don't. We don't highlight the young managerial talent. It's just not something that we do. And more's the shame. And you know what? That may well be fine. It may well be enough. But I tell you what, this is a bad season to get it wrong. Because I do think that all of these clubs, the promoted clubs, other clubs around, they are forward thinking. And we seem stuck in the dark ages compared to them. And it doesn't seem to matter whether it's the recruitment of the managers or just young, vibrant players. You look at the players that other teams are bringing in, there's a vibrancy to them. how's a stale? I don't mean all the players are stale. I mean the ideas are stale. Sorry. You know, our answer was Danny Ings, and Danny Ings is a decent player, but it sort of indicates that our scouting is just so far behind anyone else's. Maybe the scouting's not. Maybe it's just a desire to bring them in. Maybe we just don't push it forward. Maybe they just don't want to come because they know they're not going to get a chance. So I guess it's not in the lap of the gods now. We're going to have to get behind and hope for the best that this basically the old-fashioned way, because that's what we've committed to. We've committed to doing things the old-fashioned way, and we've got to hope that old-fashioned way is going to see us through. We've got to hope that actually it's going to somehow galvanise the squad. And they're going to get behind it, and somehow we're going to be able to grind some results out, and we're going to start to be able to repeat and replicate some of the performances that were happening a couple of seasons ago. There are some signs. Ogbonna looks to be coming back into some sort of form. That's a really, really good thing. Antonio, you know, has looked like he's getting sharper. That is good. Bowen looks to be coming back to form. It's not all doom and gloom, but I do think it's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight, and it's a hell of a decision not to bring anyone in. I mean, that's a gamble. That's the risk. They talked about bringing players in being the risk. Bringing a new manager in was the risk. Well, okay, maybe. But I'll tell you what, not bringing players in is also a risk. Possibly the bigger risk. Not changing the manager is also a risk. They say it as if that's the safe thing to do. Keep Moyes, that's safe. Keeping Moyes will keep us up. Retain our Premier League status. Getting rid of him, bringing a new manager in, that's the risk. Not buying any players, that's the safe thing to do. Bringing players in, that's the risk. I'm not so sure. I don't buy into that. In fact, I'm not so sure. Don't agree at all. But we're about to see whether it works or not. We're about to see if, you know, come the end of the season, or now, during the running, if our way of doing things, and bearing in mind the money, we have spent lots of money. I'm not claiming we haven't spent money. But I do say a fool and his money are easily parted. We're about to see whether our way of doing things is better than Brentford's. Whether our way of doing things is better than Fulham's. You notice the conversation has changed. Last season, when we were saying this, it would have been, we'll see if our way of doing things is better than Man United. You remember last season, we tried to get Jesse Lingard in the January window, and we couldn't do and we wouldn't do because Man United didn't want to deal with us. The reason Man United did not want to deal with us because we were rivals. Could we catch Chelsea? Could we beat Man United? Christmas time, we were in the top four. It's gone. That's gone now. And now it's a case of, are we better than Bournemouth? That's the reality of the situation. And that should send shockwaves through the board at West Ham. But I don't think it has. I don't even think they realise it. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that David Moyes was stood in a burning building. He didn't even realise it was on fire. And I think there's a certain element of that to the board. To surrender the opportunity to get rid of a manager and bed a new one in with 3 weeks training in the World Cup was unfortunate. I think to then not bring a new manager in and allow him to refresh the squad in the shape of his own thinking in January was probably negligent. If we lose to Arsenal and then David Moyes goes, then I mean it shows that I think it would show a level of ineptitude at board level that I think David Moyes has been displaying on the training pitch. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just worried, truth be known. I'm just worried about our Premier League status, worried about West Ham. Of course I am. We all are, aren't we? West Ham fans. Look, we've decided not to go with it. There's a lot of hope. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We're keeping our fingers crossed that Cornet comes good, that Skamaka comes back and start to look like a Premier League player. I think he's a good player, international player, Serie A player, certainly. Premier League player, not so sure. Lucas Paqueta, not sure he's a Premier League player, but he's a hell of an international player. We're going to have to hope that David Moyes can get the balance in midfield right. Hope that Kurt Zouma comes back and can form this partnership with Naif Gerd, which I think will be pivotal to us remaining in the Premier League. I really do. I think it's going to be absolutely crucial. I think we stand a chance. For now until the rest of the season, I think Gerd and Zouma playing the back four, I think we've got a chance. I think we'll probably do it, actually. But it's a hell of a risk. And that's why I don't like it being spun that this is the safe way to do it. I don't think it is. I'm disappointed. Spent transfer deadline day very, very disappointed actually that nothing happened. Not because I'm desperate for players, and not because, I'm sort of addicted to transfer deadline day, that sort of thing. I think it was just a hard watching ambitious clubs and then watching us. But as I say, it does sort of fit with everything else. It does sort of fit with the old style, the old-fashioned way of doing it. And I think that's what we're doing now. Look, you know what? We bet on a horse. That's what's happened. The board, David Moyes, they bet on a horse. They backed a horse, a certain way of doing it. I guess we're about to find out whether they backed the wrong one or not.